The taxi rattled down the muddy path, each bump a tremor in my bones. The road seemed endless, stretching into the darkness with only the dim headlights cutting through the night. The sound of the engine was a constant, low growl, almost as if it was protesting the journey. Rain lashed against the windows, blurring the outline of the mansion perched atop the hill. The downpour was relentless, each drop a tiny hammer against the glass, making it hard to see anything clearly. The mansion seemed to waver in and out of existence, a ghostly figure in the storm. It loomed, a gothic silhouette against the stormy sky, its windows dark, vacant eyes. Lightning flashed, illuminating the mansion for a brief moment, revealing its decaying grandeur. The storm seemed to rage around it, as if the very elements were trying to tear it down. Fear, cold and clammy, gripped me. I was here, in this desolate place, alone. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, and every shadow seemed to hide a lurking menace. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat a reminder of my isolation. The driver, a burly man with a face etched in worry lines, grunted as he pulled up the rusted iron gates. His hands were steady, but his eyes darted around nervously, as if expecting something to jump out of the darkness. The gates creaked open, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. "You sure about this, lad? Place got a bad reputation." His voice was gruff, but there was an underlying tone of concern. He had probably seen many passengers come and go, but this place seemed to unsettle even him. I swallowed, my throat dry, got nowhere else to go. My voice sounded small and uncertain even to my own ears. The reality of my situation was sinking in, and I felt a pang of regret. He gave me a look, a mixture of pity and warning, then drove me up the long, winding driveway. The path was lined with overgrown trees, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. As we approached the mansion, the sense of foreboding grew stronger, wrapping around me like a cold, damp blanket. The interior of the mansion was a stark contrast to its imposing exterior. The outside was dark and foreboding, with its Gothic architecture and towering spires. But inside, it was a different kind of eerie. Dust-covered furniture draped in white sheets, portraits with eyes that seemed to follow me, and an eerie silence that pressed in on me. The room felt like it was frozen in time, a relic of a bygone era. I shivered, pulling my thin jacket closer. The chill in the air was not just from the cold, but from the palpable sense of history and mystery that seemed to seep from the walls. The caretaker, Mrs. Hemlock, a frail woman with eyes that held ancient secrets, led me up the creaking stairs. Each step we took seemed to echo through the empty halls, amplifying the sense of isolation. Her voice, a dry rasp, echoed in the cavernous hallway. "This mansion has seen many things," she said, her words hanging in the air like a ghostly whisper. "This is your room, young man. No one stayed here in years." Her words sent a shiver down my spine, as if the room itself was waiting for me. The door creaked open, revealing a spacious room with a four-poster bed shrouded in shadows. The bed, with its heavy drapes, looked like it hadn't been touched in decades. The air was heavy, stagnant, filled with an unspoken dread. It felt as though the room was holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to break the silence. The first night I couldn't sleep. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the occasional groan of the old house. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves against the window pane sent shivers down my spine. Then I heard it. A whisper, soft and low, coming from the corner of the room. I held my breath, listening intently. It came again, a name, barely audible, sending a chill through me. I couldn't make it out, but it felt cold, filled with sorrow. I lay awake, heart pounding, until the first rays of dawn pierced through the darkness. The whispers continued each night, growing louder, clearer. They spoke of betrayal, of a broken heart, of a love lost too soon. I started seeing things out of the corner of my eye, fleeting shadows, a white mist gathering in the corners of the room. One night, I woke with a start. Standing by the window, bathed in the pale moonlight, was a woman. Her dress, a tattered white gown, flowed around her like mist. Her face, obscured by shadow, was turned towards the window, her form radiating a bone-chilling cold. I blinked and she was gone. Days turned into weeks, each night more terrifying than the last. The whispers became wails filled with anguish and despair. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut. I was living in a nightmare, trapped with an unseen entity whose sorrow seeped into my bones. One evening, as I sat by the window trying to read, the book was ripped from my hands. It flew across the room, pages fluttering, and landed with a loud thud against the wall. I felt a cold breath on my neck, a whisper right next to my ear, "Leave this place." That night, the storm returned with a vengeance. The sky was a swirling mass of dark clouds, and the wind howled like a pack of wolves. It was as if nature itself was angry, unleashing its fury upon the world. Rain lashed against the windows, creating a relentless drumming sound that echoed through the house. The wind howled down the chimney, making eerie, ghostly noises. Lightning illuminated the room in terrifying flashes, casting eerie shadows on the walls. I huddled under the covers, my heart pounding in my chest. Fear was a tangible presence in the room, wrapping around me like a cold, suffocating blanket. Every creak and groan of the house seemed amplified, adding to my growing sense of dread. Then the room grew freezing cold. My breath turned to mist in the air, and I could see it hanging there, a ghostly reminder of the chill that had settled in. I shivered uncontrollably, my teeth chattering. The air crackled with energy, a strange, almost electric feeling that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. It was as if the very atmosphere was charged with some unseen force. I opened my eyes, and there she was, the woman in white, standing right next to my bed. Her presence was both ethereal and terrifying, a ghostly figure that seemed to glow with an otherworldly light. Her face, pale and gaunt, was now visible, her eyes two black pits of despair. They seemed to bore into my soul, filling me with a sense of hopelessness and fear that I had never known before. She reached out a hand, a silent plea for help, her fingers almost touching mine. And then, just as suddenly as she had appeared, she vanished as the lightning struck close, plunging the room into darkness once more. The storm raged on outside. But inside, I was left with a chilling silence and an overwhelming sense of dread. I didn't wait for morning. I threw some clothes into my bag, stumbled down the creaking stairs, and out into the raging storm. The mansion loomed behind me, a dark, menacing presence against the lightning-streaked sky. I didn't look back. I ran until I reached the main road, my clothes soaked, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I finally hailed a passing truck, and as I sped away, I could have sworn I saw a figure standing on the mansion's highest turret, watching me, her white dress billowing in the wind. I never went back. I left the mansion behind, along with the terror and the mystery of the woman in white. Who was she? What did she want? Her cries for help, her sorrow, her anger still echoed in my nightmares. I tried to find out about the mansion's history, about the woman who haunted its halls, but found nothing. The locals avoided talking about it, their faces tight with fear. The mansion remained a mystery, its secrets buried deep within its walls. Years have passed, but the memory of that night of the woman in white still haunts me. The fear has subsided, replaced by a deep unease, a chilling reminder of the unseen world that exists just beyond our perception. Now, whenever the wind howls outside my window and the shadows grow long, I remember the old mansion on the hill, and I wonder, is she still there, trapped in her sorrow, waiting for someone, anyone to hear her cry?